Yes. Well, all right. So guys, I have Josh Cuthbert here, and he's going to introduce himself because he is like, I know you're a CSCS and you work with NFL athletes and athletes in general, but go ahead and tell us what you do.
Yeah, so Josh Cuthbert, Director of Performance for All In Performance, which is just a side business with Jason Phillips. I primarily work with high-end athletes here in like the Nashville, Tennessee area, a little bit of remote coaching as well. But I got into this field being a former athlete, played Division I college football, and I kind of saw my niche as somebody that can relate with athletes, know what they need, know what they don't need. And when you deal with professional athletes, I like to kind of be the mechanic that puts the fine tuning on the Ferrari versus the guy that tries to turn the Ferrari into this next supercar because they're already a supercar, right? I think a lot of coaches out there, they tend to overcomplicate training, especially when it comes to high-end athletes. You're typically not going to make them into a super athlete because they already are one, right? So you're trying to maximize genetic potential and just kind of just raise that ceiling a little bit. But at the end of the day, you don't want to put extra miles on the car. If you
Right.
get 10 miles, if you get 10 years out of that car, great. But if what you do in the weight room brings them down to only 7 years, then you did more harm than good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my approach.
I've never even thought about that because their body is that's their job. Like, and if you take away from that because you're trying to do a personal ego thing, then,
Yep.
But it's interesting that you're talking about athletes because you treat other people that aren't athletes. And my first question is something that I've noticed in how you talk about everybody you train, and you say you train everyone like an athlete. Like, and I want to know the mindset behind that because I think it's extraordinary. And I think it's people like the everyday, Jane and Joe, they don't necessarily train like athletes. And I don't think they reach that potential. So talk to me about that mindset that you help instill in your clients.
So when it comes to, in my opinion, when it comes to training, one of the first things that we lose is the ability to produce force, and whether that's in a rapid manner or just overall strength. So if I have somebody that's 70 years old coming off of a bilateral knee replacement, granted we're like well into the process, her strength training might be getting up off the couch. So we are going to get up from a box squat as explosively as possible to where she can get to a point where she doesn't have to use her hands anymore. Now, if you take that and you fast forward to a 25-year-old NFL athlete, we might be on that same box, but we are explosively jumping with one leg onto another box. But the methods are still similar. Like, she's still getting up off that box as fast as she can. She's not jumping because she can't. And the athlete is still doing the same thing, but he's jumping on one leg to another box or into a multi-plane direction. But at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. Like, they're still being explosive. And as you age, you lose the ability to produce force. Like, the type 2 fibers, they don't fire as efficiently, whether it's motor unit patterns, like things get obstructed, and you just can't do it. But one of my favorite sayings, and I can't tell you who said it, is you can't do the things that you once did because you quit doing the things you used to do, right? So people say, well, I used to be able to deadlift 500 pounds. Well, what happened? Either you got hurt or your job took over or you stopped training in that capacity. Nothing really stopped you from being strong. You just stopped lifting in that manner. Therefore, now you can't do it anymore. And as you get older, you have the kind of like that catastrophic effect. So every time you drop down, it's that much harder for you to get back to baseline, right? So if you just continue to try to introduce explosive movements and strength to these older populations, they can potentially, their quality of life gets better because of it. So active daily living, which is what I would like. I have different training categories that I put people in. So my older population, they go into active daily living, but active daily living for them is getting better off the couch or getting in on and off the floor without, an excessive amount of pain versus, whatever it may be.
Right. So it's like, it's the whole terminology or the whole phrase. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so you're just, but your specific training is, how to identify those people and move them forward. Right. Or is it, so it's, and then it's too, like, it's the people that are coming to you post surgery that like just want some of the mobility or the things that they used to do. They want that back. And so you help them bring that back and then some, right?
That's my favorite client. If you
Yeah.
gave me somebody that is 100%, I don't think that it takes a lot of knowledge or skill set to make somebody that's really strong and injury free a little bit stronger. You just
Hmm.
follow a basic progression, right? You take somebody like yourself that might be dealing with a shoulder ailment, and then you have to work around that, but you still have goals, whether they're strength, hypertrophy, whatever it is, and you can still improve that person. They can still get stronger and get more mobile or whatever their goal is around that injury or whatever, injury, that's a tough word, but, limitation, then
Hmm.
that's where it's tough, right? So you give me somebody that's fresh off an ACL injury and they want to get back to running a 4.5 40, but they also don't want to get hurt again. That's my number one priority, is
Hmm.
getting them back on the field as injury resilient as possible, which is the number one thing that any strength coach or personal trainer should do, is keep people healthy. And
Right.
then the performance numbers come after that. Now, if I can get that person, like one of my athletes just got named All Pro, but when I first got him, he was coming off an ankle surgery. And now he's, you know, broken the record for most yards as a tight end, um, recognized as the best blocking tight end in the league, which to me, I don't care how many balls he catches, but when he's driving somebody into the ground, now I feel good, because
Yeah.
that is strength. Like, that's strength, that's mindset, that's just being a savage.
Right.
And yeah, that's extremely rewarding. Now, had he come to me, a first round draft pick worth millions of dollars, his mindset probably wouldn't be to work as hard as he can every day either. So I am selective. Like, people say, well, why do you only have 5 or 6 guys? I know there's others that reach out to you, and I've had multiple people, and I have a small interview. I want to know what your mindset is and how you are as a client slash athlete if I'm going to take you on.
Yeah.
So if you're injured or not injured, I would like to talk to the PT. Like, what's he like in physical therapy?
Hmm.
Because he doesn't want to work in there, I know he's going to work in his reconditioning process, which is where I like to thrive. Like, that's where I can build the most ground, because that's where I had struggles in college. When I first had my torn ACL, there was a gap for me between when I returned to sport and when I was coming out of the PT's hands. And I recognized that, and a lot of the things I implement, even with healthy athletes, kind of revert back to that same process.
Yeah. 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 I think mindset's so important. So you tend to work with the people only with strong mindsets, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm at this point in my career, I'm a little bit more selective, and people
Right.
ask me, like, one of the most common, um, especially during NFL offseason, questions that I get from a direct message is, "Hey, coach, how's it going? How do I get to training the people you train? I
Hmm.
want to train NFL athletes." I'm like, okay, that's great. One, I volunteered in a collegiate setting for years. I worked for free.
Hmm.
The big thing that we talk about, especially in the Impact Collective, is providing impact, value, all that stuff. Where I don't give as much online content and free stuff as other people, but I spent years working for free.
Hmm.
Cody McBroom spent years working for free. Like, people, they kind of forget that. Like, they want to get into the space, they want to work, they want to get paid, they want to work with NFL, they want to work with MMA fighters, and they want it now.
Right.
Well, for 3 years, I was sleeping on a couch, right? Um, and when I tell them that, they're like, "Wait, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean you work for free?" Yeah, I was like living on somebody's couch in California, and then I was living on somebody's couch in Mississippi, working for free.
Hmm.
And within that, I gained a plethora of knowledge from different coaches and experience around different types of athletes, right? Um, so I think that gets overlooked. And then you also have to get really, really effing good at training ordinary people
Hmm.
before athletes are going to trust you. So ordinary people, youth athletes, high school athletes, like, you got to work your way up the totem pole. Nobody just jumps into a professional athlete facility, never having trained Gen Pop before,
Right.
right? And I think for me, that's something that I enjoy training both, which, a little bit of a hybrid coach, right? Because if I go from a 70-year-old, guy that just wants to hit the golf ball a little bit better, or if I go to a guy that hit 45 home runs last year, that challenges me as a coach a little bit. Like,
Right.
my methodology and my mindset has to change a little bit, and my attitude. Like, typically I'm an energy guy in a weight room. I can't yell at these soccer moms all the time, right? They don't
Right.
want to get yelled at, right?
We
Like,
don't do
and
well
they
with
pay a lot of
that.
money. I don't want to get fired. I don't want to get fired either. So
Yeah.
I have to undulate my intensity throughout the day, which a lot of people I don't think are very good at. Either you're a high energy guy or you're a low energy guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the good coaches, not only can you manipulate your intensity and the way you train around clients, but you can do it within yourself too. Because you don't want to come off as fake,
Right.
right? Clients, they have to trust you, right? We talk about this all the time. So when I have two women in their early 30s and they're kind of talking about their kid's softball game or whatever it is, like I have to be able to relate. I don't have anybody that plays softball, but I still like I have to be able to relate, and you have to be engaged. Or
Mm-hmm.
if you have four NFL guys that all they want to do is listen to Boosie and they want to see you get crunk with, like you got to be able to turn up.
Right. Yeah.
And that's one thing that be a chameleon is something that I've heard before, and it really stuck with me. And I try to pride myself on that.
Yeah. No, I actually think that's the way, like a good, not just in the coaching environment, but like in life in general. Like I learned this in parenting when I had my second child and I was trying to parent them like my first child. And someone was like, you have to parent your second child differently than your first. And I was like, wait, what? Like, and so like I've learned with every new child that like you've got to treat them differently. I treat my mom differently than my dad, like some friends can handle one thing, part of some friends can handle the way I talk to them one way, other friends can't. So like, it's like being a chameleon in life in general is a really good skill to have for sure. Okay. So my other question is, what's the biggest thing, regardless of who you're dealing with client wise, that you want them to take away after working with you or, while in the process of working with you?
The ability to do it on their own.
Okay.
So I have a really good client retention rate when it comes to one-on-one or small groups. But if I'm out, like my wife had a baby and I was out for a few weeks, I was able to reach out to these people. Here's your program. If you have any questions, send it to me, take a video, whatever. And a lot of people said, I just went to the Y, and I had 3 clients tell me that at the YMCA, people asked them where they learned how to do this, or can they help them with this movement, which made me happier as shit, because it means that what we've been doing over the years has transferred over, even when I'm not there, that they don't need me to coach them anymore. They hire me and they continue to pay me just because of our relationship, and they want to be motivated to some capacity.
The
But when
accountability.
it comes to lifting weight, they can do it on their own. The programming, whatever it is that they enjoy. But when it comes to proper technique, all the stuff that goes into actually being safe and effective in the weight room, they've got it down.
That's awesome.
And I think that's what a lot of online coaches preach as well, is you don't need me forever. Like if your 12-week program or whatever it is, like the end of the goal is or should be that you can do this on your own. Like if you run Performance Body once and you're asking a bunch of questions the next time through, you should be good to do it the next time.
Yeah. Work yourself out of a job, essentially every single with every single client.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people in the space, like they've built their own competition, and that's great. That means you've done a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have one more second for another question?
Yeah, for sure. Let's go.
Okay, cool. Can you, because I know Performance Body came out, what was it, like at the end of last year, like November?
Yeah, right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Can you briefly discuss it? Because I've recommended it to some of my clients because they were like, well, what program should I do next? And they tend to get pretty bored with just, a bodybuilding program or whatever. Can you kind of explain what it is and who potentially it's a good fit for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the program was actually written with Jason in mind, which kind of sounds crazy because he's in good shape and he's super strong, and you would think he follows like a pretty typical program. But when he first hired me, he had a deadlift goal in mind, and we were programming deadlifts, and we were working with bands, we were working different stuff. And then 4 weeks in, he's like, I kind of want to move some more. I want to do some more high intensity stuff. I was like, all right, cool. Let's do some WOD. So we started implementing some more high intensity work. And then he's like, man, I kind of missed the pump. And I was like, this guy's a wreck. Like, are you kidding me? So I was like, all right, cool. We'll work some bodybuilding stuff in. And then we got on a call one day, and I was like, why don't we just do all 3? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I'm going to program strength this week. Next week, I'm going to program, modified CrossFit. The week after that, we're going to work the pump. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And then we started doing it. He's like, dude, I fucking love it. And then he introduced me to Mike's stuff, and he's like, this is more of like your neuro type 2, where you kind of get bored in the weight room. But the biggest difference I can say is, because a lot of CrossFit or a lot of WODs include like heavy bench press to start or heavy squat, and then it goes right into the Metcon of the day, which is fine. But a lot of people, they just can't handle the volume, right? So within performance body, I think it does a really good job of giving your central nervous system a break when you go from heavy strength work right into the next week will be higher volume on bodybuilding, and then you hit the high intensity work, and it cycles through that way, so your body is able to recover, but yet you're still undulating and switching the variables at which you're working at each week.
Right.
So far, I mean, I think one of our clients has been lifting. I mean, she's a 30-year lifter, and she PR'd for squat, bench, and deadlift.
That's
and one of
incredible.
them, I think she went up 40 pounds on her deadlift, and she's been like seriously lifting for 30 years.
Yeah, that is a giant feat for those who don't know. That's huge. Like, people just hope to go up like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, but like 40 pounds,
And to
as
go
an
up on all
experienced
three,
lifter.
honestly, I was very surprised. Like for me, I'll take one, maybe two lifts during a cycle and try to
Right.
increase on those two and maintain the other one. But she actually increased all three, which was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's for somebody that's looking for a little bit of constant change to try to stay, fresh and engaged, but still follow structure. So if you're doing bench press 5x5 week 1, which you're not, but this is hypothetical, by the end of week 8, that same 5x5, the intensity is going to be up 10 to 15% as far as the weight that you're lifting. So we're still following a linear progression throughout the 16 weeks of the program, but the movements are changing throughout. So
Gotcha.
hardest program, honestly, that I've ever written, just because there was 3 different training methods within it that were
Right.
changing every where you take a normal 12-week program like we're doing for Strong by 6, and it's going to be a much more linear driven progression. Movements aren't that different, or like some of Cody's programs, like you'll start with this movement, you'll add weight, and those for me are super easy to write, right?
Right.
This was not like this.
Yeah.
We filmed hundreds of movements, because even if you did a Bulgarian split squat this way in week 1, on week 4, if you were coming back to it, we changed the modality, which means I had to film all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff though.
So is this for somebody, can even a beginning lifter go into this, or is this more for advanced to, like
I would say it's probably medium to advanced.
medium to advanced? Okay.
I stayed away from traditional Olympic movements. I do triple extend throughout this movement. So one of the more advanced would be like a muscle snatch.
Okay.
Or a landmine push press versus a traditional barbell push press, or a traditional snatch, or a traditional hang power clean, things of that nature. I tried to get them in there, but just scale back like one regression level, so that somebody that hadn't done it in maybe 10 years and hadn't done it at all wouldn't
Right.
be completely out of water. And then we always include on each thing that we have, each movement has a regression.
Okay.
So can't do pull-ups, and if you can't do assisted pull-ups, then we program inverted rows and so on and so forth.
Gotcha. I've heard those called as opportunities for success. Like if you can't necessarily do that, then scaling back. Awesome. Well, yeah, I've seen sample snapshots of it, but I always see people post and or just some of the workouts that people do, and it's just incredible. So I know that people would be interested in hearing more. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your day, but I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your experiences as a coach, and what it takes to continue to push yourself, regardless of if you're a professional athlete or just a regular Sarah Pringle, So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have a good evening, or a good day. Good day. Have a good day.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.